a very frustrating week and a very disappointing week from the standpoint of our program. But I think we learned a lot about ourselves. We learned things that we've got to work on. And I think that when you look ahead, the next 2 weeks, we're going to learn even more about ourselves. And somewhere along the way, we've got to find ourselves and collect ourselves. So I think the biggest challenge for our program, we saw the results of the game. I mean, you actually come, you have a good win to start the Baylor series, and we lose a doubleheader. You go back through history, you don't lose a lot of doubleheaders at home at Louisiana. And that was really frustrating for me, and I'm sure frustrating for our fans and frustrating for our players. So I think the biggest thing is my message to my team and my coaches, like, everybody coach your tail off, players practice your tail off, prepare your tail off. On the other hand, let's don't point fingers. Let's keep it positive in our instruction, keep it positive in our interaction with each other, and then understand clearly we have to find ourselves and get better. So that's kind of where we're at right now, going into these big weeks. Really interesting set of games coming up at home tomorrow against, I think, an undefeated Louisiana Tech team. Then we'll go 7-3 Colorado, then an undefeated Texas team, and a very, very good nationally ranked Stanford team throughout this week. So, definitely a lot of opportunity there to prove yourself on the ball field. And if I think the difference, I knew going into Cal, I knew going into Mississippi State, if you didn't play really well, they could beat you. And I think the interesting perspective this week when you go to Texas, who I believe is playing along with Oklahoma, two top teams in the country right now, you can play really well and still get a defeat. And I'm fine with that. I just want to see us play really well at this point. And so that's the challenge ahead of us, is to play really, really well and then figure out how to come out of there with a win.
Is it right now, I mean, obviously you want to win every game, but are you now in a position, now that you have 5 losses, a lot quicker than you thought you would, to where it's more important to figure things out than it is to win a game?
Absolutely. Dead on. I mean, at this point, I thought we had a chance before the season started, watching our preseason practices and our scrimmages. I thought we had a chance to be 7-3 at the worst. And had hopes that we could go into Texas, with an 8-2, 9-1 record, but that hasn't happened, and we're 5-5. So now it's imperative that we recognize where we're at, and that we start figuring things out. And we'd defensively, we made some moves yesterday. I wouldn't be surprised. We've not had our coaches meeting yet this evening. We had a meeting after the game last night, but we'll meet further today, and I would be almost surprised if Hunter didn't want to try other things on defense. So I think that very much so right now it's about finding our team and finding ourselves and making the adjustments that we need to make over these next 2 weeks, which will give us a really good look at where we're at when we face top teams. So definitely an accurate statement.
Is the key, are we back to the starting, okay, let's figure out third base and then go from there, or where are you on it? Where does that start right now?
Yeah, I think that if you look at the overall, you had, third base is, everybody's pointing at it, but then I wasn't happy with the shortstop play either this weekend. So I think we just, I'm going to let Hunter make those final decisions this week, and I'm sure he's going to look at a lot of options, because we have to get people comfortable. You're going into Texas, offensively extremely hot ball club, a very talented ball club. They can put the ball in play with power. They can put the ball in play with the slap and the bunt. So third base is going to be a critical position as a shortstop. So, it starts, I think, on the left side, not necessarily. I think we're happy with where second base has been. Langler's did a good job for us at third. She did a good job at second. And, outfield, I think, has been good. So I think that what we're looking at, we got the biggest thing on defense to figure out right now is that left side of the infield.
Is finding out and giving Sissy some at-bats and finding out if she's made progress with what you already know, how much of a priority could that be over the next week
Huge, because she's arguably our most talented defensive player. You know, if you watch our practices on a daily basis, the kid is phenomenal on defense. And I thought both her bats yesterday were really good. I liked she hit the ball sharply up the middle. It was a hit and run, so second base and shortstop closed that gap because they were going to protecting against the steal. And then the at bat at the end of the game where she hit the ball sharply to second baseman. It could have went in the 3-4 hole. But those are both, and she was inside the ball working opposite field, which is something she's been working really hard in practice. And she's a gamer, you know, like I knew she would have a quality at bat that last time because that's who she is. So she's one of the pieces that when I look at Sissy, it gives me hope that we can really step up a level because I know she's got that in her to play at a really high level. It's just a matter of her finding herself offensively. And I'll say this, she's worked really hard for a month. She stayed really after it for a month, really disciplined, really pushing herself to accomplish the goal of getting inside the ball and keeping her hands short to the ball. And I'm seeing definite signs of improvement there. So I'm optimistically excited about her going forward.
As far as Lexi pitching, is it more getting comfortable with a new pitching coach, or is it really a matter of health still?
No, it's not health. She's healthy. There's no injury. I think it's definitely a matter of her getting comfortable and having extreme confidence. To be a pitcher, you can't just be confident. You got to be almost arrogant in the circle, and extreme confidence. And I think that's where she's at, like finding that Lexi Delbury. Because if you go back, you can look at the film from her freshman year. She was extremely confident, and we got to help her find that. I put her back out in the seventh inning. You know, I wanted to give her that opportunity to come back out and show what she could do. I know it's in there. We know there's pitches, and if you look at the film from the first inning and the seventh inning, it was two different pitchers mentally. And I think we can grow from that and we can learn from that. And it's a matter of her finding herself, a new program, new coach. There's a lot of reasons, but it all comes down to Lexi finding her self-confidence, extreme self-confidence.
All right. So right now when things are unstable, you have certain players with high ceilings, and you have a player like Falterman who's just steady. It's steady what you need right now.
It's a great question. You know, Kayla Falterman gives you a lot of stuff. She's a program kid. She gives you great leadership in the dugout, in the locker room. She gives you that influence of calmness. So it's always good getting out there. At the same time, we're trying to get, like, with the new rules, the video replay, I'm trying to figure out, is speed the way to go on the bases, or is a speed game the way to go, or is it a power? And I think whichever one of those clicks, like right now, neither one's clicked. We've not scored a lot with the offensive game plan when we're hitting run, slap and run, putting the left-hand slappers in, and we've not scored enough when we got the power hitters in. So I think it's going to come down to offensively in right field, who can get us going and who breaks out first. But Kayla definitely brings us leadership, but she brings us great leadership even when she's not in the lineup. She's just one of the most intelligent, mature kids on our ball club.
Coach, when adversity strikes early in the season, is this kind of where you expect to see your leaders lead and really turn the tide of the team, or is this more of a situation where your coaching staff has to push them a little further? Which would you rather see right now?
No, you'd love to see your players lead. Like, you would love to see the players lead. But on the other hand, you know, we probably wouldn't be getting paid as much if that was the case, that it's always going to happen that way. I think that everyone, right now, when you're 5-5, you look ahead, you know, at the schedule. If you win the games you're supposed to win based on the first 10 games of the season, and you lose the games you're supposed to lose, we're going to be 11-11 after Oklahoma. And if you slip up just a little bit and you lose a game, one of those other games to La Tech, or you're under 500 when you come out of Oklahoma. So it's a time to not be telling this group to lead or that group. Everybody better jump in and push and shove as hard as you can to get our team going in the right direction from every angle, coaching staff, players, everybody.
Do you feel like y'all are shell shocked, or did you see that they can handle it emotionally what they just been through the last week?
Well, the veteran players, the players that were here last year, went through the exact same thing. You know, we come back from Florida, we were I think 7-6 or 8-7. We went through a really rough deal, and then we righted the ship, and I think we were 22-2 in the conference. So the task at hand this year is almost identical to where we were last year. So I don't think the veteran players are shell shocked. You look at a kid like Brooke Ellistat. I don't know what she's feeling because, the program she came out of was well under 500, I think, both years. So does it bother her? Is it normal? Is it abnormal? Is she frustrated? I've not got a good feel for her. And then I know, the kids that come in from Florida, they're just like our kids. They've been beat up at some point during their career because they're in the SEC. You get tough. You get toughened up. So I think we're okay. I'm not too worried about that. We've got enough pieces back from last year that I feel like we can still accomplish what we got to accomplish. I think it's really important, though. I don't want to get out here. I want to go to Texas, and I want to play Texas well. I want to play Stanford well. I want to go to Oklahoma, and I want to put a quality team on the field at Oklahoma. I think not only do those programs deserve that, our program definitely has to be that, our fans deserve that. So I think it's a matter of not even wins and losses right now. The first thing we have to do, we have to start playing well and eliminate silly errors that we saw this weekend and poor at bats that we saw this weekend, and then pitching more consistently.